All right, time for a trade day recap. It was a beautiful day of price action. We had a beautiful A plus setup to sink our teeth into as well this morning. So I'm up 3R on the day, and while that sounds great, I'm just trying to maintain, a neutral feeling about it because some days you win, some days you lose. Both are part of the game. So let's dive into this trade recap. I guess starting with the higher time frames. Coming into today, we can see here on the daily chart. Okay, making sure you're on the right screen. You can see on the daily chart we pushing bullishly, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4 days of expansion. So that was making me feel a little hesitant. We were up in this volume imbalance, but we were so close to the draw on liquidity. This swing here, and then this relative equal highs. You can see prices almost touching up to. Nonetheless, I was leaning a little bit bullish when it came to the bias. Now this morning, here's the 15-minute chart. We're looking at NQ. Obviously, here's ES and YM, but I want to pay attention to NQ here. And we can see that here's the London session in the purple. And London, it formed this breaker right here. We can see this down close candle right here at 7:30 a.m. formed this bearish breaker coming into the midnight open. And that kind of fell into alignment with what I wanted to see on the 1-hour chart. Here's the 1-hour chart, and here's the 9 a.m. candle. There's this fair value gap. And for bullish continuation, I wanted to see price come back down into this 1-hour gap and then expand out of it. So going back to the 15-minute chart, here is the 9:30 open. We can see price came back down into that. This is a 15-minute gap on this chart, came back down into 50% of Asia's range, which is this pink box here. Where is my 50%? 50% of Asia's range. Let me turn off some of these SMTs. There we go. The indicator's great, but it sometimes just adds a little too much to the screen. So we came back down to that equilibrium. And the other thing you'll notice is this standard deviation marker. We saw price come back down into 2.5 standard deviations of that bearish breaker, which was perfect for a mean reversion retracement. And everything happened down in here. So let's dive into the lower time frames. Once price came down into that zone, so we can see the 9:30 open is this blue dotted line right here. 12 a.m. is this thick blue line right here. And then previous day high, I believe, is what this red line here is. So we opened up. We kind of did a little bit of what I thought was going to be seek and destroy. We can see price came down. 9:30 took sell side, came up, took buy side. It formed a little inversion, and I was kind of looking at it, thinking about it, but I didn't like how it was right on midnight open. And I didn't like how it didn't close above forming a breaker, nor was this inversion here. I'll highlight it. That wasn't a very big inversion. It's not the kind that you can see from space. It doesn't have momentum behind it. Whereas if we look down in here, we can see when price tapped into the previous day high, it just had this expansion right after that V-shaped recovery. So we have these large gaps, and we have a V-shape right there. And so let me put on my execution marks. And I'll walk you through what ended up happening. So everything that I was looking for was down in here. We had, here's the criteria that was met on this trade. I'll put it over here so make sure you can see it. And let's zoom in here just a little bit. So basically we had, we swept session liquidity. Here was the London low that had been swept. We swept the 4-hour and the 1-hour candles. And then we came down into a 1-hour and 4-hour fair value gap, which I already showed you. And now the high probability targets, that was critical too. We had all of these relative equal highs sitting up in here. We also had midnight open right there. So there was a lot of targets to justify going long here. Now, in terms of the setup here, it was A+. It was V-shaped. It was clean. There was no local liquidity left. That means there's not a bunch of trend line liquidity or equal lows building up right below the entry point. So that, in that regard, and it was inside the 940 macro on the dot. This was a perfect IFVG setup. Now I took it, I marketed in on the close of this candle. You can see the very next candle, my order was filled. And what ended up happening here is I got stopped out at break even. So price came up here to almost 2R. And my rule set says I want to see price retest the inversion and go to 1R. And in this case, it just went to 2R. So I went break even on this trade. Price came back down and tapped me out. And I saw this candle's reaction, and it didn't close below this primary inversion that I had entered on. And then I saw the second candle here was doing the same thing. It was coming down into this inversion, but it was rejecting. So at that point, when I saw this rejection, I decided to be a little bit aggressive here. And oh, now it's going to do this to me, isn't it? Got to drop down to the 30-second chart. And then I looked at the 30-second chart. And once I saw this order block here, so once this candle right here closed above, you can see I market ordered in on this candle preceding that. And I took it all the way up 3R to these equal highs right here. And price kept going, which was awesome. But I'm content with my 3R. I don't feel like I need to chase price. My system says take full profits at 3R. And that made me happy. So that's a review of today. A plus price action, in my opinion. A plus trade setup. It was as clear as day, in my opinion. And I love days like this. January so far, the last couple weeks have been unusually clean. And I hope that we can get more of that for this coming year, because I know the last year has been a little bit dicey. And typically we don't see solid price action until even a little bit later in the year, like late February, even early March. So seeing this kind of price action, this is a plus, and especially we're on FOMC, I think is next week or on tomorrow. And so this was just beautiful. So yeah, that's just a quick recap of the trade. And if you want to see more of these, just let me know in the comments. I'm happy to share this information and love it if you would subscribe, support the channel. Thanks.